What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Off the Mic Sports Network here, and we're here live on the channel. Yeah, Hunter, sorry for the delay. A lot of stuff going on. Just kind of waiting and sort of marinating, letting my thoughts go in terms of how we thought of this show. Let you guys get in the chat, but thank you so much here for a live edition of Off the Top Rope. AEW Dynamite post show. Go home is in the books. We only have a collision. And before you know it, we're already in Texas now. So it's just, I don't really know how to feel about this show because on one end, I am a little bit excited for, all in Texas. There's some big matches on this show. The card in terms of the name value and the brands, I think those gauntlets can actually really deliver. Um, so I that being said, man, like the build of this show has really let a lot of people down. And this was very safe, not a whole hell of a lot of risks to it. The closing angle, some people, depending on who you talk to, feel like it was too fed for people. I actually, I was kind of fine with it. I thought it was, it got some heat into, the Bucks. And although the Bucks overacting was a little bit obnoxious. So, listen, man, like I said, I really don't know what to feel in terms of the level of interest hasn't been heightened any more than it already was. Like I said, no, this is supposed to be their WrestleMania. Their four big matches have their biggest stars, and I think all four of the main matches should deliver. I'm a little bit worried about some of the winners and some of the outcomes and how this could shape this company going forward. There's a lot of unpredictability within the four best matches, which is not the same for what normally is not the same for what normally you would get out of an AEW show. So I like I said, it's a very strange, place that we're in. Obviously the go home angle. I didn't think we needed an 8-man tag to get to the conclusion that we did. That being said, it was very interesting that, Swerve just squashes the limo. The Bucks get distracted away. And even though, the baby faces lost and John Moxley stood tall initially, Hangman gets the last laugh, really almost hits the buckshot, but Moxley escapes. So that creates usually in these go home segments, you're like, okay, the person who is not standing tall is usually the winner. A person who's standing tall isn't the winner. In this case, like Moxley won and then Hangman got the last laugh. So I don't know how this is going to go. I've been on record that I think Hangman needs to win. There are a couple of convenient outs if John Moxley is able to retain. Darby Allin could, the gauntlet could potentially lead to, a cash in attempt, Money in the Bank style. You've got Sting, who lives in Texas. You've got Bryan Danielson, who hasn't been seen on AEW television because he got felled off by the Death Riders. You could see that, but he was in promotion for this thing. There's a lot of things on the table for them to get out of this. And this Texas death match is going to be littered with bullshit. So you just know that this is just going to be a clusterfuck of epic proportions. First real major takeaway is I think the main event's very unpredictable. They didn't do anything with Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada, which had Kenny actually come back and if they would have, and maybe they'll do something on Collision, I don't know. But if you're not going to have Kenny be on television after that big angle where, he joined up with Don Callis, and then you had this really nice video package, it would have been nice to have more than just, hey, Kota Ibushi just shows up and, hey, we're back fine and dandy and, everything moves on its merry way. But it's just, it feels like that was a wasted opportunity there. Yeah, I listen, and then, there's the opening segment with Mercedes Moné and Tony Storm. I'll say this, and this for everybody who's watched on this channel, understands that I've been as critical as anybody of Mercedes Moné in the community, based off of I just think that she's kind of held back this division. But first of all, I've already went on record and said this. You can go watch the video on the channel. They're in a no-win situation. Like whoever wins this match, it's not going to do any good for the women's division. They've destroyed the women's division to get to this one match, and no matter who wins, is it really helping the women's division overall long term? Like Tony Storm, obviously, I'd love to see her win. Here's the problem. Tony Storm is already as over as she can be. What more possibly could you get from being the first person to beat Mercedes? Does it validate you as the best women's like, listen, some people already think that Tony is better than Mercedes. In terms of a character, she absolutely is. I mean, Mercedes is probably bell to bell the best female wrestler working today, but Tony has a pretty damn good argument bell to bell, and she's done it with a really goofy ass gimmick. So, yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know, man. Like in this segment, it was probably the best thing they did in this entire build, and they waited until 3 days before the show to get this out there. But yeah, Mercedes doesn't really say a lot of what she said just sounds like she's reading a movie script. And she had a couple of good zingers in there, but then she botched the date of the pay-per-view at the very end. And it's just like it felt very formulaic. But for a face-to-face, it was very, I think it stood out because the rest of this build has been terrible. Like they had the initial promo after, Double or Nothing, and then it was Mercedes eating dinner every week. There was wrestling matches in between, a couple of run-ins here and there. There was a little, pull-apart brawl that they had. And that's really the build over 6 weeks to get to this thing. And the biggest women's match of all time this has been built up to, and considering, what they sacrificed to get to this point, to not really put as much effort and time as they did into this, really a missed opportunity, and really just, kind of a failure on a lot of different fronts for Tony Khan and his people. And I've made the argument, I think the best of the bad decisions is to just give it to Mercedes. Because at least at that point, you're setting up a final boss scenario where whether it's Statlander, getting her redemption after losing to Mercedes twice, or if it's Willow, or if it's Megan Bain, if you want to put her in a position to be a dominant, even though she's a heel right now, if you want to put her in a position to be presented as like a powerhouse that can, like, in the same vein as what, Camille was when she was hanging out with Mercedes. Maybe that's the way you go. There's options there that you could build to, but it's going to take time. And if Tony wins, it's just the only option really I could see in that scenario is a heel Megan Bain just coming in and just being full on Brock Lesnar and just absolutely destroying Tony Storm, because, Tony barely beat her in the match at Dynasty, but we really haven't seen much from Megan Bain. She looked very dominant. She may very well win the gauntlet on Saturday for the women. I don't know how that's going to go, but it will nonetheless be very, very interesting. So, yeah, those are the big picture, takeaways that I had from this show. If you guys want to get in on the chat here, sorry for the delay. Just, kind of a lot of stuff going on here. Very busy time here in the Omeyer household. So, let's sort of start from the beginning. The Tony Mercedes thing. Listen, Tony Storm is just freaking entertaining as hell. And the theory that I have as to why there was not a really substantive build to this match between Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné. The really only the reason why I think that this went the way that it did is because I don't think that they wanted to put Mercedes in a situation where she was going to look bad on the microphone. And that's what happened tonight. Mercedes kind of measured up, but again, like I said, it's felt like a very formulaic and very just, read off the cue cards thing. And yeah, she's just not a good promo, man. And like, I could tell that she was really trying to sell this thing, but it's just, it looks so phony. It looks so ridiculous. And I was just like, I think the reason why I was like, oh, hey, this was actually a pretty decent segment given, But it's because of how badly built this match has been. Like Tony has literally carried this feud because it's whether it's been her wrestling or whether it's been her promos, whether she's dropping curse words or whatever. Because like the ending line was great, where basically, um, basically tells her to eat shit. So eat shit, bitch, or something like that. It was and yeah, and then obviously, hey, the other big thing here is even if Mercedes, probably for the first time in this feud actually, kind of sounded at least somewhat functional. Um, but then she says, "Oh, I'm going to beat you on Sunday," and everybody knows it's on Saturday. So go ahead and get your comedy jokes in here. She thinking about it? Is she thinking about a pay-per-view on Sunday taking place in Atlanta? She was a part of the first Evolution, everybody, in case you didn't know. I mean, she legally can't show up there because she's contracted to another company. So maybe she's got Evolution on her mind. I don't know. But yeah, that was bad. That was really bad. That was a bad look to, botch your line at the end of the thing. Like I said, she did fine for this promo, but you could just see, and every time that these two have at least gone toe to toe on the microphone, which has, been like a couple times, Tony is just so much more natural, so much more charismatic than Mercedes is when it comes to just, being in these character driven moments, which despite what you people want to tell me matter. And this is why there are some drawbacks to Mercedes. When the filters are off, she is as good of a performer in the ring as you can have. That has always been my thing. But all this bullshit, all the filters, the CEO music, all the stupid dance, all the championships and everything, it's masking, a lot of her flaws. And she had the WWE machine behind her back during the days of Vince McMahon. We may not like Vince McMahon and the way he booked the women or the way he booked Sasha Banks, but Sasha Banks did not even as big of a star as she looks like with all these championships as Mercedes Moné. Sasha Banks, no matter how you felt or how you felt about her booking under Vince McMahon, she still felt cool and didn't feel corny and cringe. And a lot of times with this CEO thing, and I saw a quote that she said, and it leads into this whole creative control thing. I saw a quote that she said where she's not like, she's better than, Sasha Banks. And I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, really? So all in all, listen, the go home segment for that feud was probably some of the best work that they've done. I honestly expected them to, kind of deliver because, like I said, there was nowhere else to go but up. Like this feud was This feud has been terribly built. I think I said it on social media. This is one of the worst built big matches that I can remember happening on a big show. Like, it's like putting minimal effort into your world title matches. And I understand that some of WrestleMania this year was not very well built. But this just like this is the bare minimum stuff. And when you're talking about the two women that are in this match, Mercedes Moné, the former Sasha Banks, standard conversation. Everybody tells me all these names that she has for herself. And Toni Storm, timeless Toni Storm. And like I said, this feels like just another women's wrestling match with those two names attached to it. And that's sad. That's really sad. Like the women's pay-per-view on Sunday, Evolution has not had a lot of very good build either. But they didn't have a lot of time or luxury to do that. They sporadically did it across the year. But in the 2-week short feuds that they had to really put together a card, they kind of recycled a lot of feuds to get it together. And it feels very last minute. Yeah, it's one of those things where with AEW, you knew that if you listen to anything that reporting has told you, this has been the plan for a year. You had 6 weeks to build to this thing, and the best segment you could deliver was a middle of the road promo segment 3 days before the show. That even then still wasn't that great. Mercedes botched her lines at the end, and Tony pretty much ate her for lunch. Like it was like Tony is just, it's so blatantly obvious. And like I said, my theory of why they kind of did the minimal build is they know that in a long, like, drawn out build, if they were going to do these promo segments, Mercedes was not going to be able to hold a candle to Tony. So that's really where I land on that opening segment. It was fine. So John Moxley cuts a promo. I do like that he mentioned the old Texas Death Match, which was not seemingly brought up. So the fact that they're going back to that, and they did some callbacks to that on commentary and in the main event. So that was there. Then we get, listen, I love Brody King. I like Bandito. I love Takeshita, and I love Fletcher, but I don't know what the fuck this match did. Like, I mean, Bandito's fucking entertaining. And Brody King's fucking awesome. But yeah, doing the like, because listen, what the fuck does Kyle Fletcher have to do with any of this? Kyle Fletcher's fighting Adam Cole for the TNT title at the pay-per-view. What the fuck does he have to do with the Ring of Honor Championship and Brody King? What the fuck? Like, Takeshita and Bandito are facing each other at the ROH show on Friday. So okay, fine. But it's just that this it was good wrestling. And like I said, Bandito's fucking entertaining. And Takeshita, I think if you guys pay attention to this channel, I think Konosuke Takeshita is, like, outside of the language barrier, that guy is about as good of a professional wrestler as you can find from any walk of life, black, white, whatever, any ethnicity, whatever. Konosuke Takeshita is about the closest thing to a perfect professional wrestler, even with the language barrier. That guy, everything he does fucking hurts. The way he delivers his moves are beautiful. Like, I hope to God that at some point we can get maybe hint at Takeshita going against, Okada or something, because like that guy is just so freaking good. And I enjoy every chance that I get to watch that guy wrestle, because he is just a freaking mammoth, just a monster of a professional wrestler. Maybe they're saving it for Collision, because I guess TNT, it's the TNT championship, but I don't understand the Adam Cole Fletcher build. And, some people are theorizing that Fletcher's just going to kill him. But, listen, it's hard to really care about that match at all, because Adam Cole has not been presented well since he won the title. It really feels like a token for, all of the struggle that he's had to go through. But he hasn't been presented very well as TNT champion. That championship as a whole really has not been handled well since Christian. Cope did a decent job defending it, but then he broke his foot. So yeah, I don't really know why this match needed to happen. But it was fun. It was standard shit. I love that you guys brought up FTR in the chat, because they announced that there's going to be an 8-man tag. It's going to be the two of the teams from so it's basically going to be Jet Speed teaming up with the Outrunners to take on FTR and the Patriarchy. So two of the teams that are involved in the tag team title match at All in Texas, teaming up with other teams. And, if you listen, I watched the match on Collision. The FTR and the Outrunners was outstanding. Outrunners finally getting a chance to shine. FTR's fucking great. They've done nothing with them since their heel turn. And I do not know why. At minimum, FTR should be in this match, and maybe they add them, and maybe that's this 8-person tag is a way to make it a 5-way and make it a ladder match or something. But listen, I FTR's they're going to be in this 8-man tag. They're teaming up. It seems like there's an awkward alliance really here. They're slowly hinting at Christian and FTR maybe falling out. So this could feed into Adam Copeland's return. A lot of people were expecting the payoff to be here at All in Texas, but I would expect the payoff to be in Toronto in September for All Out, hometown of obviously of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. So them aligning to face off against FTR. But listen, if it were me personally, I'd throw FTR. Hell, I'd throw the Outrunners in there, and I put a ladder in there, and I would basically say, fuck it. Let's Let's just do everything we can to just do everything crazy. And FTR wins the match. And that sets the stage for Christian and Adam Copeland to be together. And then Christian and Adam Copeland can reunite. They could potentially win the tag team titles. Because listen, all of this really is a roundabout way to try to get those titles off the Hurt Syndicate. Because as much as I like the Hurt Syndicate, it's done nothing for that. And believe me, we will get to that tag team segment later on, because that was some of the worst stuff on this show. Ricochet faced Vanilla Baby Blake Christian. Why? I don't know. Because isn't Vanilla Baby supposed to be a heel? But Ricochet, I guess, is they beat up Lee Johnson, Big Shotty. And, Blake Christian's defending the honor. But Ricochet basically for 7 minutes going 50-50 with another high flyer, only for the Gates of Agony to get involved, and then Ricochet gets a win. Listen, how am I supposed to care about Ricochet and his new crew when he's beating up Blake Christian? Like, how am I supposed to care about that? Blake Christian's a jobber, okay? How am I supposed to care about that? I don't really have much interest in Ricochet because he's a clown on the internet, and the Gates of Agony have been booked like cronies and booked like geeks for literally their entire existence. They looked strong in one segment when they turned on Swerve. That's it. And Ricochet, yeah, it's like he had a chance. They had a small window to capitalize on his momentum, and yet here we are. He's begging Drake to show up in Toronto for that show. And yet here he is. He's in the gauntlet. We don't even know if he's going to get in the gauntlet based off the fact that they announced him. I would heavily doubt that they would stop that match before Ricochet got it into it. So, literally almost a calendar year to the day since he showed up in that same gauntlet. And listen, the only thing that's changed about him is his character. And, he's been a good, obnoxious heel. But listen, if you're trying to get over a new chicken shit heel with a new crew, you don't put him in the fucking ring with Blake Christian, a jobber. Like, that doesn't do anything for me. Like, you put him in there with some guy with some credibility and have him beat him. But the problem is, all the guys with credibility and like big stature, you're not going to give losses, and they're all hanging around the main event scene, like Ospreay and Swerve and all these other people. And maybe you could find somebody else a little bit further down the totem pole that you could potentially throw him in the ring with. But Blake Christian, that's the best that you guys had. So it's hard for me to really care about that. It was a fine, well-worked wrestling match. These guys are, it was fine, but it wasn't like anything to write home about. But really, so then we sort of kick things into gear. After the match, like we get an MGF interview with the Syndicate, and they're about to get set for the old talkie talk. And so MVP, Shelton Benjamin, and Bobby Lashley, they go to go get their tag team belts from their locker room, and there's a note on the door that basically said, "Hey, happy birthday, we beat you, so we stole your titles." So they have to go handle their business. We get that nice video package that I talked about with Okada and Omega, which was really great. It would have been a lot better. It would have been a lot better if hey, they had done a little bit more build and Kenny had not been off of television. But hey, this is the Okada Omega is really one of those things, like, it can kind of sell itself, but I wish they would have done a little bit more, especially with the Don Callis angle, whether I like it or not. So then we get the talkie talk. I love Mark Briscoe. I think he's fantastic. I think he's got a lot of the elements that made R-Truth really great too. And Mark Briscoe can wrestle too, so he's very entertaining, very country energy. Like it was very. It's always refreshing to see, Mark Briscoe, get involved in like these things. So, and the word going around is Mark Briscoe and Max wanted to work with Mark Briscoe. But the one thing that really puzzled me about this, and, this may be like a divisive thing in terms of, and I know some people, you guys in the chat have brought up the specific promo. I have a big thing with me when it comes to heat in wrestling. I don't like using dead people. You guys may say to yourself, Mike, how'd you feel about, the infamous promo with Randy Orton talking about Eddie Guerrero back in 2006 leading into WrestleMania. I hated it. Hated it. Chris Jericho using Jay Briscoe earlier in the year, or I think it was late last year or earlier this year. I can't even remember. Using Jay Briscoe for heat. I didn't like it. Now, with this one, MJF at least, showed some respect before pulling back and basically, saying, the offensive line where basically it was like, yeah, he probably wishes that you were the one who got killed. It's just like it. And, yeah, it didn't really get the heat that you were looking for. It's like, it's what they call cheap heat, and it's low hanging fruit heat, because to me, also, you got to think about the circumstance as well. This is to promote a gauntlet match where other people are in it. This is not for a singles match. This is not for a championship. They are making this personal because they are the first two entrants in a gauntlet match. So if you're going to go that way, and I don't like it, and I can't even believe I'm trying to qualify this Randy Orton example. Randy, they were fighting to be world champion, him and Rey Mysterio, back 19, 20 years ago, leading into WrestleMania 22. That's not what this is. You're fighting to be in a position in a gauntlet match to win a world championship shot. You're one of many people that are entering it. So that was a part of it. And then, like I said, I do not like using dead relatives to get heat. I think it's the lowest form of ways to go personally. I think Paige did it with Charlotte Flair back in the day. She brought up her dead brother. Like, it's just like, it's not the way to go in wrestling to me. It didn't hit. To me, in terms of the land of MJF, insults, kind of on the lower tier. Like MJF, just his booking has really been puzzling. This guy was main eventing the show 2 years ago. Granted, that main event wasn't that great. And then he had a great feud leading in with Ospreay last year. Now he's in a gauntlet. I think he should probably win. Him and Darby Allin are probably at the top of the list of people who I think are going to probably win that or the favorites to win that men's gauntlet. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, this promo was weird. And then after it, this is where things just went completely off the rails, because Mark Briscoe goes to get some punches in and fights MJF. He goes for the J Driller, and then the Hurt Syndicate's music hits. Jet Speed gets sort of evens the odds. And the interesting note here, which is maybe one of the only shining things about this segment, is MJF ran away from the Hurt Syndicate when they were in trouble. And I don't know if that was because they were like he was trying to deal with Briscoe and get away from him, or he didn't want to deal with that extra kerfuffle. The Hurt Syndicate, basically, the Hurt Syndicate ends up getting beaten down by Jet Speed, a team that they've laid waste to this entire build. The Patriarchy gets in. They pick the bones on Bobby Lashley. They do 2 concertos on Bobby's knee. Shelton Benjamin gets taken out in the ring, and hey, the 2 challengers for this tag team match at All in Texas stood tall at the end of this thing. This was odd. This was odd because, first of all, Jet Speed are baby faces. Hurt Syndicate are heels. Like, with the Patriarchy, I kind of get it. And, I get weakening Lashley. But considering the way the build of this feud has been handled, the Hurt Syndicate just being dominant, them on the go-home segment getting their asses kicked and getting weakened, it kind of was weird. And I don't think a lot of people in the arena knew how to fucking react to seeing, baby faces just beating the shit out of heels. Like, it was, and Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight, all due respect to them, compared to Bobby, they're like half of Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. Like, I think all in all, basically what this tells you is like one of 2 things is going to happen. Hurt Syndicate is going to retain, or they're going to lose because, one of the other teams steals the pin. Based off what I saw here, I don't see the Patriarchy winning because I think they're going to set the stage for Christian Cage to break off and go reunite with Cope. Jet Speed, it would be a weird choice to have. Even with the beat down here, the tag team division is so weak where even if they win, they were already getting their asses kicked to begin with. So how great of a tag team champion would you have there? This is why I would add FTR and possibly the Outrunners just to make this a 5-way ladder match. Like, fuck it. Like, you're calling the show all in. Like, at least put some credible tag teams in this fucking match. And with FTR, you could have them steal the titles and then have them in 2 months face Cope and Christian. And then you could set that up and set the stage for that. That's how this should go. I don't know if they're going to do it, but yeah, that was an odd fucking segment. Really, really strange segment. So then the women's match, the 4-way to determine the number 2 spot in the gauntlet. It was Queen Aminata, Tekla, Ty Mello, and Megan Bayne. This was a rough watch. This was a rough watch. I don't know whose fault. I don't know whose fault this was. But it felt like some of these spots that were planned out. These women were not in sync with each other. It felt like sometimes they were moving around in quicksand. Tekla is impressive, but the problem is it's hard to care about her because her prime adversary was Jamie Hayter, and Jamie Hayter's hurt. They wrote her off. She's gonna miss All In this year because Mercedes Moné probably concussed her. Like it's amazing. Like it's just it was a clusterfuck of a match. Ty Mello has only had a handful of matches since she came back from pregnancy after 2 years out. Tekla is impressive. Megan Bayne, is kind of in a league of her own in terms of the physicality that she brings. Still, her wrestling's not that great. And I listen, I'm a big fan of Queen Aminata. The way that she wrestles and her striking, it's very unique. And she was getting some good reactions from the crowd. But even then, like I said, this was just a mess of a match, and it just it got to the conclusion, and Megan Bayne predictably wins here. She was the one who should have won, so it's Stat and Megan Bayne to start the gauntlet on Saturday. I would think those are two of the favorites. But this was not a good reflection of the women's division as a whole, because first of all, it's hard to care about any of these women when you've got 2 women with 2 championships fighting over the one prize in this division, and now all these people are fighting to be who's going to face the winner at some point down the line. And even at that, like I said, just no chemistry, very, very poorly put together match. It was just a bunch of spots, and they did listen. I'll say this, man. They've had a little bit more leeway to build that women's gauntlet match, and they didn't do a good job. Like, for God's sake, NXT did a better job in building the women's battle royal the next night at Evolution. Feels more important than this women's gauntlet. So, I mean, it's just, like I said, it was kind of a mess of a match, but Megan Bayne wins. She's number 2 in the gauntlet. After the match, this was actually one of a good segment. Queen Aminata and Tekla was. I hear Tekla's a very good promo, and they haven't let her talk yet, which is weird. So she's about to get a word with Renee, and then Queen Aminata comes in. They have a girl fight. They have a brawl, a little hockey fight, a little. What would you call it? Not a Donnybrook. Like, I'm trying to come up with names with me in the chat for how you would call that a girl Donnybrook. Because that's what it was. At least it was like a little hockey fight. And that was good. Like, there's still some heat there. So Tekla and Aminata, if they both show up in that women's gauntlet, I'm sure that'll be readdressed there. Mark Briscoe crashes out. And that was great, and sort of hypes up the men's gauntlet with MJF. We get Wheeler Yuta and Samoa Joe. Wheeler Yuta getting get a haircut chance. Wheeler Yuta has hair down, his bangs are over his eyes, much like I looked like I did. He looks a lot like I did when I was in the 10th grade. Like, my hair was all the way up in my eyes, 10th, 11th grade. Like, I was going full on fucking emo. That's what Wheeler Yuta looks like. He looks ridiculous. Also, why in God's name do you fucking go for 8 minutes with Wheeler Yuta and Samoa Joe? I love Samoa Joe as much as the next guy, and Samoa Joe had a nice reversal into a quick submission with the coquina clutch, and he did his walk away spot, but Did this really need to go 8 minutes on the go home show for Dynamite? Really? Really? Like, I'm not going to remember anything about this match. And the big issue here is after the match, Gabe Kidd shows up, so it seemingly is setting the stage for whatever the fuck they're going to do with the trios championships. Which Hobbs, Shibata. I mean, here's the funny thing: since that big win that they had where Hobbs, Shibata, and Joe won the titles, and I agree, Joe should have squashed Yuta, or this match shouldn't even happen. But you have Joe, Hobbs, and Shibata won those titles. What, a month or so ago, like right before Double or Nothing. They haven't defended him once. They're probably going to defend him at this pay-per-view. It's probably going to be Wheeler, Claudio, and I would guess Gabe Kidd, because we haven't seen Pac in forever. Yeah, the trios titles just mean nothing. Nobody cares about the trios titles. It's just another excuse to have more championships on the show. And they've not defended them once. Also, where is Hook? Maybe that gets addressed, whether it's in that match or whatever. It's week of Mania, really? It's been that long? The week of Mania. Man. So you mean to tell me they won those titles before John Cena won the world title? Holy fucking shit, man. Thank you, chat. Oh my God. That's amazing. That's amazing. They've not defended them one time. I get on John Cena for like the way his title run has gone. At least he's defended it. Holy shit. I mean, Hook costing the ops is the logical conclusion here. But yeah, the way this whole thing has been booked is just, like the trios and the tag divisions are just a fucking nightmare. Like, I mean, didn't Hook show up at Double or Nothing? I mean, it's just like, I don't know where this whole thing is going, but I could have done without seeing Wheeler Yuta. I mean, the get a haircut chants were kind of funny. So then we get the main event, another 8-man all-star tag. Hangman, Will Ospreay, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Shibata going up against Moxley, Claudio, and the Young Bucks. Fine enough tag team match. A lot of decent action in it. There was a table spot. Rick Knox looked like an idiot, didn't even see it happen. Just a bunch of offense on Shibata, and then he gets choked out with the Bulldog choke. And this was a 10-minute match, ends right before the top of the hour. And you're led to believe, oh, John Moxley is going to stand tall. So after the match, Wheeler Yuta and Gabe Kidd join in on the beatdown, and it seems like they're going to get one up on Hangman and Ospreay, and they bring out the plastic bags. And I was like, they're not seriously going to do this again. And fortunately, Swerve Strickland, in an unknown location, it's revealed that he has one of those, I guess it's an excavator or one of those like cranes that he's operating, and he just drops that thing on the Young Bucks limo about 3 or 4 times. Very WWE-esque. And I'll say this, at least it was somewhat entertaining. It was kind of hammed up in terms of like, the Young Bucks fake acting in reaction to it, but at least a compelling thing to like, put some more heat into this thing. Also, listen, I like that Swerve was away from the whole commotion in the arena, because why does he need to even be close to Hangman right now? Those two don't like each other. So, and Hangman was even looking at Swerve almost in like disgust, and he had the chain around the neck, which was similar to what Swerve was doing a couple years ago when they had their Texas Death Match. So it's hard to gauge how things are going to go off that closing segment, but I liked it because at least what it did was it created some unpredictability where you thought, okay, usually the go home segments kind of give you an idea of where things are going. So like I said at the top of the show, the fact that Mox went over in the match, he got the deciding submission on Shibata, only for Hangman to kind of stand tall, but he doesn't land his big move. And Moxley just scurries away at the end of the show while the Young Bucks are scared, and they are scared about their limo, and they get Swerve stomped by Swerve. Um, it's very hard to tell what they're gonna do. I don't really have a good gauge on what they're gonna do with Omega and Okada. I don't really have a good gauge on what they're gonna do with Bucks versus Osprey and Swerve. I don't have a gauge on Mercedes and Tony. Even though I think I'll believe it when I see it, Mercedes is going to win that match. And then, of course, I don't know how this main event is going to go. Um, but and the likely outcome, because it makes it opens things up and it opens some possibilities, is for Swerve and Osprey to lose that match to the Bucks. Because the problem is, if the Bucks lose, that's their whole character, that's their whole gimmick, and I don't know if they're just going to go away and just rethink everything. Swerve and Osprey can be fine without challenging for the world title. I don't think Osprey needs to challenge for that world title until Wembley next year. So this 1 year stipulation, I said it on this channel. I think it was a brilliant move to put those stakes on the line. And to be honest with you, that's one of the matches I'm most looking forward to the entire weekend. Because, Hangman and Moxley, we kind of know where that's going. Mercedes and Tony, I'm excited to see because these are two of the best women's wrestlers out there. And then Okada and Omega, we kind of know what to expect. Well, they're not, and RM, they're not going to get the EVP power. Basically, it's just Swerve and Osprey win, the Young Bucks just relinquish and resign, and they're no longer EVPs. I don't know what they're going to do with that power, if they're going to just, bequeath it to somebody else or just hand it off to somebody else. My understanding of this stipulation, they did a very good job of clarifying this. Swerve and Osprey are not winning EVP power. This is a match where loser loses something. That's really what this is about. The loser is putting something on the line. It's really an all-in stipulation. So, which I appreciate. And with Swerve and Osprey, like, you could open up a lot of possibilities for Swerve to keep him away from the world title. You could turn him heel. You could continue the thing with Hangman. You could have him cost Hangman the match. The reason why I'm so excited for that match is that match is going to play a direct role in what happens in the main event, in what happens in Moxley and in Mox and Hangman. And in terms of that, it's a coin flip right now. It is a coin flip as to who wins that match. And I thought guaranteed for sure they were going to go with Hangman as far back as 2 weeks ago. I don't know if that's the case. And if Swerve and Osprey lose that match against, if Swerve and Osprey lose that match, the tag match, I could fully see Swerve costing Hangman the world title. Could totally see that. I'll say this. That's fine. But you can't have Jon Moxley walk out of that stadium with the championship. You just can't. You can't. Like, the way out of this, as much as I don't like it, because I think I think it's a hot shot booking idea, and it's a very, prisoner of the moment, but it will send the fans home happy, and it would create at least some level of a buzz. Is you have a bunch of people run in, similar to WrestleMania 40. Darby Allin cashes in his contract, assuming he wins the gauntlet. Sting comes back. Bryan Danielson comes back. Everybody under the sun takes down the Death Riders after all of this crazy bullshit has happened, when Jon Moxley's been beaten to bits in a Texas death match, and Darby Allin wins the championship. I've said Darby Allin is not a world championship material, but if this is the way to get the title off of Jon Moxley, I'm fine with it. You cannot have Jon Moxley win this match and walk out of that stadium. You can't. I don't think that's a winning proposition for AEW. So it's a fucking coin flip. I'm telling you guys, like, Hangman and Moxley is a complete and utter coin flip. I have no idea who's going to win that match. Zero idea. Gun to my head, I say Hangman, because I think he should win. I think he deserves it. I think he's the soul of it. I think he's the soul of the company. Yeah. And the other thing about this is the language, because the way that they did this gauntlet last year, it was effectively Money in the Bank. They're not making it seem like that this year. That's a problem. So hopefully Hangman wins, because that's the first thing that should happen. If Moxley retains, they better use that as a Money in the Bank privilege, because Jon Moxley cannot leave that stadium as the world champion. It can't happen. We've gone on with this for almost a year. This has not worked. This is the most realistic that I have felt. Like, some people thought Swerve was going to win. I didn't think, and they comically hammed it up. I didn't think Cope was going to win it. Hangman is the most realistic, and they have done a bunch of things to try and make you believe that Hangman Adam Page, really, who I think is the soul of this place. I said this that he should have beaten Ospreay, and I'm not even so sure about that. But and you know, it's this has the feel of a WrestleMania 40 thing. Although it was a pretty foregone conclusion that Cody was going to win that match at WrestleMania 40. This is so unpredictable. And to me, Hangman has to win that match. It's just and if he doesn't, like I said, you have to find a convenient out of that. And to me, if you're gonna you can bring Sting in, you can bring I mean, Sting's shown up he was a part of the first All In. He was a part of last year's All In as a surprise to save Darby. Like, that's a way out of this situation. But to me, it's a very, like, hell, you get Jay White, you can have fucking Eddie Kingston show up. Like, do fucking crazy shit to try and ham this up and try and mask everything, because look, this is not going to be pretty. And also, I hope it's a Money in the Bank thing that they have with this cash in thing, because hey, at least it creates that element too, especially when you have a fucking Texas death match. So, and who knows, maybe Jack Perry shows up. Hey, we haven't seen Jack Perry since Full Gear last year. What the fuck happened to that guy? Yeah, I mean, listen, long term, this felt like Darby's spot, but then Darby wanted to go climb Mount Everest. I'll have an issue with him sneaking in through the back door after they put in all this time with Hangman. But again, my number one thing is they need to find a way to get that title off of Jon Moxley. However it goes. Oh, and you know, don't even get me started on the Christian thing. That was one of the stupidest things of all time. It made Christian look like a blithering fucking idiot, a fucking moron. And Christian's one of the smartest guys in professional wrestling, and he looked like a fucking idiot at Revolution. I don't know whose idea that shit was, but that was the worst possible scenario in that situation. And Jon Moxley walked out of it. Listen, like, here's the thing about Swerve and Ospreay not challenge. It at least opens up possibilities for potentially other people. And it could, what this company needs, because Swerve and Ospreay, listen, if Swerve isn't winning, if Swerve's not going to win the world title, at least for now, Ospreay, if you're not going to crown him at All In, you're damn sure not going to do it at Forbidden Door. It has to be in London next year. So taking Ospreay out of the picture is not the worst thing in the world. Swerve, you know, to me, if they take him out of the picture, I think that gives him motive to screw over Hangman and continue that feud. And you can open up, and yes, you know, Creighton, man, that's a good point. Like, you know, the rest of this division, but it's like, listen, I would kill to see somebody like a Takeshita get a chance at a world championship. I would kill to see, like, you know, Kenny Omega potentially get back into the world championship picture if he's not to beat Okada. There's other people that you could potentially throw into the mix to try and go challenge for the world title, returning Jay White. There's people there if booked properly. Do I have full confidence that AEW is going to do that correctly? No. But I don't think Ospreay and Swerve being out of the world title picture for a calendar year, you know, through the next July is the worst thing in the world. Like, it's just, but Creighton, here's the problem. If Hangman beats Moxley, the Death Riders we're assuming are going away and are going to be done. You have to have some heels to be positioned to, you know, challenge. So, I mean, like I said, it's totally a fucking coin flip. I don't know. Okada going after the world title, that's an interesting proposition. Max, obviously, is you know, a very prime possibility for MJF. I don't know. Like, but the one thing that I will say is, unlike a lot of previous AEW shows, and maybe you guys can agree with me on this before I sign off. And thanks everybody for being alive here in the chat. This pay-per-view, specifically the top level matches, are really unpredictable. Like you said, like I cannot tell you dead straight in the face with 100% confidence who's winning any of those top 4 matches. I can tell you who I think is going to win. I don't know if I'm right. I think Hangman should win. I think Hangman should win the world title. I think Mercedes should win the world title, despite what people think about how I feel about her. I think it's just there's more to be gained with Mercedes because listen, you've already gone as far as you can with her. Why not just go all in, literally, with the name of the show? Gun to my head, I think the Bucks are beating Swerve and Ospreay, and then again we another gun to my head thing. I would probably say Omega is beating Okada, but I don't feel great about that at all. Some of this is going to be match positioning too. Are they going to want to go with some babyface wins? Are they like? I'm assuming the Texas Death Match is going to be the main event, the world title. I don't know. And then the gauntlet matches are going to be interesting. I would probably say MGF and Darby are like early favorites to win that. I'd probably say Statlander, Megan Bayne, Willow Nightingale are probably and Athena. Those are 4 that would jump off the top of my head of people I'd like to see win that gauntlet. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Saturday. Trying to figure out what I want to do, if I want to do live post show or if I want to watch all in and then watch Saturday night's main event and then do just a double post show. I don't know how that's going to work out because I don't know how long this fucking show is going to go on Saturday because they moved it up. Probably won't watch NXT live. But yeah, a lot of stuff coming here on the channel. Thanks everybody for being alive here in the it's past midnight Eastern here, 9:00 Pacific here on the West Coast. Thank you all for the love and support. Like I said, we're making the train towards 1,600 people. You guys are the best. Seriously. Like, I appreciate the support. I'm just a kid from Southern California. I'm not even a kid anymore. I'm 35, but I'm just a guy from Southern California talking professional wrestling like a fucking idiot in my house. And you guys make it fun for me with the live reactions, even the ones who give me a hard time and say that I'm a fucking mark or call me Mickey Mouse and, all this other shit. I do appreciate the banter, even if it sometimes gets a little bit weird. I don't know if I want to do an all-in watch-along just because, like, watch-alongs, the last couple times I've done watch-alongs, they haven't really done anything. I'll think about it. I don't even know. I may buy the pay-per-view because I don't really buy a lot of the AEW shows. I kind of sparingly watch, but we'll see how things go. Chief, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the shout there. But yeah, you guys have been awesome here tonight in the chat. It's fun doing this. I mean, I know I've been railing on for an hour, but it's hard to listen. It's easy to get excited when you look at this match card, but the problem is the limited amount of build and effort that they put into some of these big matches left this show not feeling as big as I think it should. And maybe that's reflective in the ticket sales. They'll probably get to 25,000 seats, which, cool, whatever. I don't think that that's something you should be celebrating when you booked a baseball stadium. But, sickos are going to be sickos, okay? So, but we'll see, man. But I'm probably going to do a live post show. I don't know when I'm going to do it, if I'm going to watch Saturday night's main event and go live. We'll see. And depending on the results of some of these shows, I may just do immediate reaction as quickly as I can get on because let's say Goldberg wins the world title. I don't think that's happening. You better believe that I'm showing up immediately after that because that's going to be a fucking shit show if that happens. If Moxley walks out of Globe Life with the title, I'll get on here. What's going to shock a lot of people, I'm not going to come on here railing if Mercedes Moné wins the title. As I've said, I'm sticking to it. I think she should win. I don't think it's great for the division, but they've booked themselves into a corner. So the best decision to get out of a bad situation is, to do this. So anyway, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Sorry about the delay. I appreciate all the love and support. Get at me on Twitter at OffTheMic28 at OTMicSports. It's been fun. It's been real. We'll have a lot more fun over the weekend. Busy weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will